Thank you, everyone. I'll be really brief. I just want to say a big thank you to Sophie and Amanda and the Broward Cultural Division, as well as to all of you for being here. And I just, again, want to reiterate that I really invite you to go see the exhibitions. We have 3 on view right now. One is River of Grass with the Fiber Artists Miami Association. There are 21 installations with 18 almost 7-foot square looms on display with different weavings and interpretations of the Florida Everglades. And then Aurora Molina, a drowned horizon, which she's drawing with a sewing machine, and it's her narrative tale of the Everglades and the inhabitants who lived there in the past as well as the present. And then the Hollywood Walk Project with Peggy Levison Nolan and Pip Brent, 2 local Hollywood legends and local artists. Really fun exhibitions. And we also have a community gallery upstairs, as well as our little staff, board, and volunteer intern exhibition in our hallway, where we highlight and partner with local schools and organizations showing some really amazing artwork upstairs by our upcoming and emerging artists, future artists. To close out the show on May 17th, we are showing the film River of Grass by Sasha Wurtzel in the cinema, and Houston Cypress will be there, who's featured in the film. He's going to speak afterwards. So if you have time to come to that, we really appreciate it. And without further ado, I will give it back to Sophie. Thank you so much.
So, I'm Liliam Dominguez, Liliam hold a BFA in short from the University of Florida in Gainesville, MFA in short from UM, and PhD of Education from Broward University. She was the Director of Education at the Coral Gables Museum for 3 years. She was recently adjunct professor of art history and humanities at the cinema in the University of Florida. And she was the cultural arts curator during the state, and now she's the head curator and museum manager. Her interest is to explore the connections between art, identity, and the role of education in fostering community belonging and artistic growth as it relates to different art practices. Her approach to curatorial practice emphasizes inclusivity, effective engagement, and the transformative potential of art in shaping individual and collective narratives. So thank you, Lily, for joining us from Miami. So that's really a big deal. And so after Liliam's talk, I know that you want to ask eventually a video and we'll have a short Q&A. And please stay before going to visit the exhibition so we can do a group photo. So we need the floor. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me fine? I have to lower this because I'm shorter than most people. But good morning, and thank you for being here today. It's an honor to be here. Thank you to the center, to Jolie, to Jennifer, Robin, the whole staff. Thank you, Sophie, and Amanda here in the back, and all these wonderful arts people that keep the arts alive in our region, in our counties. Without you guys, it's almost impossible to get to do something like what I want to talk about today. There's a lot of echo, so I'm trying to keep my voice somewhere in halfway. So, welcome to my talk. My name is Liliam Dominguez, and I'm the Historic Preservation, that's my title, Historic Preservation and Curatorial Manager at Deering Estate. How many of you have been at the States before? Okay, the artist in residence don't count. Thank you for being here. I'm lucky today to have the support of the artist in residence. I have 3 of them here, I believe, and my right hand, Amaranta Mati, who's the cultural arts curator, the current cultural arts curator, and Karen Solms, the chief of staff at Deering Estate. So there's a lot of us to ask questions to. You don't have to me. wonderful facility. We have a fantastic space. We are a 450-acre facility. We are a nature preserve. We're an ecological center. We are an archaeology site. We are what I am in charge of, a cultural site. We are a museum. We have two houses, the Deering Estate, one built in 1896, oh, bless you, and one built in 1922. The one built in 1896 was for a while a hotel, an inn, the southernmost inn between Miami and the Keys. It had a telephone, it had a wonderful hostess. So we are one of the few places in the South that had a woman entrepreneur run a business from 1900 to 1915. Later on, the history continues, and as you walk, as I like to say in the tours, as you walk around the state, you get to walk through time. So if you walk into the natural areas, you start walking back in time. You go back to our prehistory, our indigenous stories, and as you walk toward the houses and toward the bay, which is that beautiful old basin there, you start walking to the most current history and our patron of the arts, who was Charles Deering. So in my opinion, what happens at the state with the Artist in Residence program, it's a model that is a very unique way of looking at yourself as an artist, and in the different disciplines that we offer. We actually welcome artists from all kinds of disciplines, and even interdisciplinary artists. So what happens there at the state changes the life of the artist. And I have 3 artists here that maybe are a testimony to that, and they'll be able to talk to you about it later on. But learning about what the South Florida region, our South Florida region, has to offer, learning about the different ways to connect with nature, with ourselves. I believe that connection is essential, right? And I believe in power of connection. And in connecting through the arts is one of the most important things. Connecting to yourselves through our own humanity and connecting to nature, and in turn, all of it together through the power of what artists produce, to the power of arts is essential. So the Artist in Residence model invites artists to research a lot of the natural aspects of the state, the science behind it, invites artists to engage with the public in different ways. We have in-site and studio residencies and on-site residencies, and we have non-studio residencies. So we have some artists that either have studios somewhere else, or their practice doesn't really require a studio, but they connect, and we try to have them all at the state as a cohort. Their interactions vary, as I mentioned before, and they are able to then have access to these naturalists and everybody that has any type of information about the archaeology, the ecology, the natural areas in general, all the scientists, and the rest of their artists in the cohort. We have a little bit of information there for you if you would like to know a little bit how to apply. I can go about it later if you have any other questions about it. The next slide has a QR code that you can scan, and that will take you to our page for the Artist in Residence page. Applications are open year-round, so this is my little commercial. Applications are open year-round from June 1st to August 31st every year. Okay. So our model, being so unique, it prompted the idea of taking these fabulous artists to other sites, to connect them with other artists that are doing wonderful things and creating wonderful works of art elsewhere. And elsewhere being that we are such a large state, meaning right next door, Broward County, Palm Beach County. So we created a program that takes us out into this more regional thinking. Even though we are connected and we're counties that are next to each other, we're very fragmented. And we have our own silos for funding. We have artists that have access to certain things but not others. So it's very supporting their work. So this idea of creating an infrastructure that would bring artists together from different counties and create some sort of cultural corridor, it started with the idea of expanding the Artist in Residence program at Deering and creating the Deering Estate at program. So our title says it all. We are Deering Estate, Artist in Residence, going elsewhere, and thus created an artist-centered model, which has been an interest of mine as a curator for the longest time. We are institutions that must support the artists that create the work. I mean, without you, the artists, the work is never there, and you are the ones that connect the stories. We are all unfinished stories, right? Our stories are not fully told. The artists are there to create these ideas and to put in our heads these metaphors of the finished story that we can all relate to. And artists will give us these clues and tips about how to continue our own stories. And this is a fantastic idea. Every time I connect with an artist, I always see something that brings me closer to myself and to the world around me. And I think that happens to every other person that connects with the art, that stays in the moment with whatever artists are creating. So the Deering Estate Arts program is about that. It's about access, it's about amplifying the reach of the artists that we have at the state. But at the same time, it has grown our proportion. It has become this great program that has also interacted and exchanged work with artists from other regions, from other counties. The whole program is complemented by an in-house program that we have that's called the AIR Archive, Artist in Residence Archive, from which we're going to play a few videos later at the end. This is going to go smooth through the end of this. And I want you to see videos by Tony Fernandez, present here, Janina Tween, also here, and Susanna Baker. We're going to play those little videos of like 2 minutes or so each. So the idea of site to network creates this way of taking isolated work that artists make and is presented for a particular community and transporting that to a different audience. The reaction and the reception has been amazing. And I have to say that I have learned so much from being present and curating these works of art and from hearing what others have to say, because we have access to so many other communities and so many other different types of audiences, school groups, families, people from different backgrounds. It is amazing what type of connections are created. And in fact, some of you sitting here I've met through this program. And I'm very grateful that you're here today supporting what we have created at Deering Estate. So the focus of the program is connectivity, mobility, and sustainability, and I'm going to explain a bit more about that later. Some of our current partners include, because we have done exhibitions with them, and we use the Frank C. Ortiz Art Gallery in Pembroke Pines, the Miami International Airport Galleries, the Arts Warehouse in Beverly Beach, and now, currently, the Coral Springs Museum of Art. We have a lot of materials on the table on the far side. Before you leave, I encourage you to grab some of those postcards for exhibitions. Some of our calendar for events is also there. So the focus of mobility. Artists live across counties and they work across counties. So those very fixed lines that prevented artists from moving from one gallery or from one system to the next, or one cultural network to the next, they are blurring. And with more access to so much information, I mean, how many of you go to Instagram and now find out what's happening across the country, across the globe? I mean, everything is there, and it's one of the few works that actually we can tell about the digital age, that we have access to so much great information, and that we have access to what others are doing, and how others are interpreting and creating in the world that we live in as well. So our residency acts as an anchor. We host them, we create a cohort, And I hope that other models of residencies for artists do the same thing. We provide them with resources, we provide them with opportunities, and I think the fact that we provide them with opportunities is what keeps them anchored and adhering. But at the same time, we build across audiences. We build a whole new system or ecosystem for creating, for understanding the world around us. And most importantly, and the part that I enjoy the most, I see them collaborate with each other. And I love what happens when a singer connects with a dancer, and a visual artist connects with a musician or a sound artist, and all of this wonderful, amazing collaborations that happens outside of school. I went to art school. I know what happens in art school. I went for visual arts, and I remember I wanted to create a stage design for the theater department, and I wasn't allowed. That wasn't part of the curriculum. So then I went to study education because I wanted to fix the curriculum, and here I am doing something else. So the fact that I know what happens when curriculums are very rigorous, and not so much rigorous or rigid, is what Amanda's going, yes, in the background, she comes from education too. So there's a lot to say about how not fluid it is when one artist wants to incur in a different discipline. So the residencies are the key. We hold the key to let artists move fluidly from one discipline to the next or collaborate with other artists. So the next focus of the program is sustainability. And for me now, as an arts administrator, and in that side of the arts spectrum, I think it's fantastic that we can collaborate with other institutions that provide a lot of the infrastructure that we sometimes don't have, and that those institutions in turn take responsibility for some of the things that we can't afford. And there's numerous things that we could talk about, and one of them could be, for example, materials, physical materials, collateral material created for exhibitions, such as postcards or catalogs and whatnot. Next. So I'm going to show you some slides about the exhibitions that we have created in those places I mentioned. This was the first one we heard at the During State Arts program. Was titled Seeing and Being, and it featured Janina Duane and Tony Fernandez. This was at the Frank last year. I don't know if some of you got to see it, but it was a beautiful photography, installation, video, ceramics exhibition. The next one was at the Miami International Airport, and it happened from September to January, so we were lucky enough to live the Art Basel craze at the airport, where we had videos playing in this gigantic screen. That's why I put the photo of some of the artists, and it's just standing below the screen. It was at the J terminal. J7 is international, and we heard that it was just fabulous, that everybody had to stop and ask, who are they, where can I find them? So at least at the time that we were there, people really asked who we were, and that was a great opportunity to tell others who we are. The next one was Marmoris, and Marmoris, I spent a lot of time at the States. Sometimes I think I live there, but early in the morning, very early, and some of you, if not all of you, probably experienced something similar. When you sit by the water and it's very early, the sun reflects on the surface of the water, and the water catches this glittery effect. But that's called Marmoris. And every time I sit in front of the water and I see this glittery effect on the water, I think of the artists. And I think that there's so much on the surface, but they are this glittery, beautiful effect, and there's so much underneath that supports that body of water, and then sometimes I feel like I'm underwater, right? But they are there, right? So I said, how can I highlight them without singling one out, but talking about all of them? So we thought about that, and this exhibition will be co-curated. Janina Duane, who's also not only an artist but a wonderful independent curator. We co-curated the first Marmoris at the Arts Warehouse in Delray Beach, and then we created a beautiful During Stay at another park, because I forgot to say this beautiful part about During Stay. We are a heritage park for Miami-Dade County, so we do have other heritage parks. And Fruit and Spice is one of them, which I encourage you to visit as well in Homestead. They have a beautiful space we turned into a gallery, and all of the artists in residence from the last year's cohort got to exhibit there, curated by Mati, sitting right around the corner. And The next Mormoris, which was another edition of the Artist in Residence program being featured at a major museum, is happening now at the Coral Springs Museum of Art. Very proud of that huge space, that exhibition co-curated by Maranta and yours truly. I encourage you to go see it. It's bigger than the one in the Arts Gallery. It has more artists participating in the exhibit, and it's just a fabulous space to experience art and to stay in the moment, and as long as you want, in front of any piece of art. Now, coming soon, we're going to have our next year stay at the Frank again, so we're repeating our partners, and that's a wonderful thing. We have Liliam Roy, a wonderful artist, painter mostly, a painter that started her career as an en plein air artist, and now she creates, with these sketches of en plein air, she creates bigger canvases that she puts together, puzzles them together, and creates large work. We're going to have an exhibition of a retrospective of her work in the main gallery. And in the front gallery, I'm going to curate her work that happened at DRH. She was an artist in residence in 2024. Now, let's look quickly, and this is toward the end of my talk, about the challenges and other opportunities of this kind of model that we have created, and we're still studying, we're still researching, we're still moving on, and everything, of course, happens as we go. And these challenges, some of them are funding, because funding comes in silos, as I mentioned before, for each county, so it's hard to cross our pocketbooks. Logistics, there's a lot that happens if we are bringing the work over, the logistics to create all of that, it's complicated, coordination, access, all those things, for nothing impossible, right? We can do it all. Opportunities, which is the best. Share funding, which once we find where the money comes from, we can then combine our efforts and have different opportunities for the artists, because now we can pay stipend, or maybe we can have a catalog, and also we can have postcards, but also we can pay them for their appearances when they do workshops, when they do talks, etc., because it comes from two different places. We create a regional branding by us being at somewhere. It's the two institutions are being featured in two different platforms. We have Miami-Dade County featuring us because we are doing a state, and now we have Broward County featuring us and the museum that is hosting our exhibition at the same time. So it's a wonderful turnout. The artists get to meet other artists that are from that county and that come to support them. Maybe they've known before from working together, but now they're actually coming in and probably planning exhibitions at the state or proposing other types of collaborations. And it creates this idea of a hybrid programming that I absolutely love, because it's not just the exhibition coming from education. There has to be something more, right? There has to be a public talk. There has to be a workshop. There has to be some sort of participatory aspect into the exhibition. So others that naturally don't have access to an art exhibition will then be engaged and be, sort of like drawn in, right? Just lure people in with whatever it is that we can put together as programming. So the future vision of all of this is an ecosystem coming from during a state. I have to refer to natural nature terms, right? It's an ecosystem that thrives, I believe, by doing these expanded partnerships, by doing more of site activations, and more importantly, by creating these artist-centered programs that have our support. We are the curators, the arts administrators, we are the ones that have access to what the artists don't have access to. And the artists hold the key to creating all of these wonderful narratives and stories that we can't do. And therefore we need to come together and discern what really is important for others to see. There's no world as we know it without art. We agree, right? Not at all. We can't not have art. So in that regard, I think this is a wonderful opportunity for expanding, and if the model could be something that other institutions can copy, I'd be more than happy to talk to anybody and offer some advice about what works and what doesn't work. So if you continue the slides, I want to advertise a little bit more about the Mormoris 2 exhibition. There's a workshop happening on May 16th by Jamila Dwayne She's going to lead the ceramics workshop at 2 p.m. at Coral Springs Museum of Art. And then at this date, we have Susanna Behar, our wonderful singer, artist in residence, doing a beautiful and one-of-a-kind concert. We have a theater too, so in a way we're similar to that. I mean, I wish we had this facility, but we are in a very modest and tiny way. We're very similar. We have theater, we have a gallery. And this one is called Echoes of Heritage. It's a Arctic mother's song, very close to her heart, and I think it's something that will bridge many communities through the world of music and art. So thank you very much. I will play the videos. Joey will help me. I don't know which one's going to be first, but it will direct you to our page if you want to go to duringestate.org at any time, like your leisure, and click on the residency and the artists tab. Then you will find these videos on a YouTube page, or just go to the During Estate YouTube channel and the playlist Artists and Residence Archive, and you will find it as well. Any questions while we go to the technical difficulties?
How many artists in residence that are in the studios there versus how many that are in just the community?
So the artists are chosen by the jurors. That's how we get to meet this wonderful cohort. We typically tell the jurors to pick between 15 and 16 in total. We do have 3 studios for artists to occupy yearly, although those artists that are in the studio can apply for the following year based on that they have a body of work that they want to expand on. And we can tell the jurors that they're okay to be chosen again, but they have a cap of 3 years in total. And then they have to wait as a hiatus of about a year, and then they can apply.
I'm just curious of what the relationship is with the artists that are not on site, and how they interact with the During State and with the other artists. I mean, how does that work?
Well, we have a few activities, we call them field trips, that we prepare for them. So as they come in as a cohort, right, regardless of their status of studio or no studio, they all come in and we have a naturalist-led set of tours. So there's different tours that will kayak to a mile away to an island. It's called Chicken Key, that has a lot of archaeological resources and history that they can use in their work as narratives of all sorts. And we take them, whoever wants to go in a kayak, of course, that takes some sort of liabilities and personal decision. We don't force anyone, but that's one option. Another option is a couple of hikes around the property that are close to the public. So a regular visitor doesn't have access to these places that we take them to, led by naturalists. So it's a wonderful opportunity for them to walk back in time and connect to the past directly, because we take them to a fossil site, one of the oldest in the nation that we have there in the state. And it is a fantastic opportunity. The first time that I saw that, I was I had tears coming down my eyes, because it was a fantastic opportunity to be in such a place right there in our backyard. So those things inform their practice, whether they are visual artists or dancers or musicians of any type of discipline. They tend, most of them, and this is a wonderful thing about the residency, they tend to change their practice and they tend to create completely new work thanks to the residency. So connecting to your question, yes, 2 or 3 get to stay in the studios, the rest come and go. We do have a dedicated space that is we call the communal air studio, where they can leave their things, they can, if they want to roam around the property, they can reserve the space and be there, they can connect and communicate, collaborate in that space when they rent.
But studios once a month.
And then, see, ambassador, we have, every month, we have a program called Meet the Airs. So they get to tell others what they do, they get to open their studios, and they get to be together in the communal air studio. The program is run by Atlanta, and it's just a wonderful.
And also, we organize museum visits together as a group.
So
So we get a very to share, and it's all voluntary, but if you really want to meet your cohorts, you can attend so many events, and you can, and we hope that we do, even attend each other's events. Because we have events outside the state and in the state, and we support each other. It's a great group.
Yes, we have a monthly newsletter that it's for the artists in residence, where we feature them whatever they're doing outside the state, of what we call it off-campus. And anything that happens on site is also featured. We also feature our friends in the learning and education department and all the wonderful tours they do. For the first time in my life, I went on a herb tour. I had never done that in my before, so I was exposed to seeds and so all kinds of reptiles. It's wonderful. I'm forever changed by doing it.
Hi. You talked a little bit about your trajectory of your career from an artist to an educator to an arts administrator.
You know me from the past. We went to school together. How did that happen?
So can you tell me if you're able to manage your art practice as an art administrator, and if you aren't, if you have a long-term vision to do that?
Well, I created art for a long time, and then I stopped. It wasn't because of this new career or this new path, but I think I saw a lot of educators and I saw a lot of curators that their caveat is that they haven't practiced. And that limits a lot of the judgment, it limits a lot of the inclusion, right? So I think by being a curator that is also an artist and have practice as an artist, my scope is a little bit more open. And I think that's how my side of being an artist has helped the current role that I perform. I see art in all kinds of faces. I mean, I wish I'm a frustrated musician, a frustrated dancer, etc. But the visual arts, which is my world, and the world that I studied, I think by just having been an artist and knowing what goes into the practice of art and knowing what artists go through and knowing the ins and outs, I think I'm able then to make more informed decisions when it comes to including artists in exhibitions, funding artists, being fair about the stipend that we pay to artists. That is something that a lot of art administrators, I think, need to learn in the art world. And I don't want to praise myself too much, but I feel that I'm on the fair side of things, right? So thank you for asking, fellow classmates.
Quick question. How do you choose the artist in residence?
Okay, so we invite artists to apply, and there's a call open that actually starts on June 1st and closes on August 31st. Everyone from any county can apply except undergraduates, right? If you're in school for your bachelor's, you can't. That's one of the, pet peeves. Or if you're going through your master's program, you can apply. Any other program you can apply. And if you're an independent artist emerging or mid-career or even advanced or switching to looking for a different thing to do. We've had some professional artists that have been in the field forever, and they need a fresh approach. Or they have been educators all their lives, and they have been able to really pursue a career in the arts, and this is their chance. So the residency is very open in that regard. It's not just for emerging or just for mid or professional. So then there's a pool of jurors that we choose. Maranta and I are in charge of choosing the jurors, and thank God we have jurors that can choose the artists for us, because that way we are completely unbiased into that process, and we know a lot of the artists in the community, so we don't really have to be the ones saying, sorry, next year. So in that regard, we are lucky that the jurors are professional artists and in the community, and also that's how everything kind of started as well in the Tri-County area. We tend to choose our jurors from other counties, and or sometimes even international, which has been the case before. So they give us their recommendations, whether for studio or no studio, and then we finalize the list together with the jurors, depending on our capacity.
For the residency, there is an amount of time that you have to spend on the site?
And that's a good question. Thank you for asking that. By being at the state as a resident, artist resident, you become a long-term volunteer of the Parks, Recreation and Open Spaces Department at Miami-Dade County. Because that's where we are. We are in large, we are under the umbrella of Parks. So by being part of the Miami-Dade County and this organization, and being a volunteer, there's a number of hours that are required to spend at the site. So currently we keep it at, the residency manager is over there, 30 a month?
Yeah, I think it's 30.
30.
It is 30.
Yeah, it has changed over time, but.
Yeah, it's 30 a month. And that's for studio and non-studio airs. So non-studio airs have very similar access. It's from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day, barring holidays. And again, you have access to the communal air studio if you choose to reserve it, to the park grounds or historic archives.